Good evening, it's Sunday night. Welcome to the Land Tamer Stream. We're getting ready for about a week from the CCIE routing and switching written exam. What does someone do a week out? Well, I've been through this once before. Hopefully it's different this time. This will be my second attempt. And I want to talk about my strategy and some other developments that are going on in the streaming world and the networking community, content provider world, and finally we're going to review some actual topics from the exam. I'm doing this just to kind of review for myself, and then maybe it'll be a benefit to someone else. So, wallpaper of the day, by the way, this is from NASA, and it is when the Voyager missions flew past Neptune and captured one of the moons, Triton, I believe it is. And they were completely blown away. This is from a Netflix documentary that I talked about yesterday. I had a chance to watch. My wife and I was about the farthest, I think. Voyager's still out there, by the way. It's still plummeting towards, it's actually past our solar system and in the space between star systems right now. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, yeah, Triton. But yeah, we got 8 days. In reality, this day is almost over, so about a week. My exam is July 23rd. I think it's like 10:30 a.m., something like that. 10 a.m., might be earlier. But that's what I'm working on. I've been working hard, folks. Today, all day, most of the day yesterday, except for work. And I have to relay a traceroute story, something that happened to me that I found really interesting. And it cost me a lot of time. I was doing a change last night. This was not normally a change window that we have, but it was something that needed to be done. It's an issue that came up late in the week, and we sort of got an approval to make this change, and it had to be done by me. So I was doing it, and it had to do with some, routing and sending certain types of traffic a certain way that it wasn't going before. We needed it to. And I did some routing changes, made a number of different adjustments, did some IPSLA tracking, some things like that. And everything seemed to be working except trace routes not working correctly as I expected them to. That was part of my verification plan. I did not have a lot of time to write a detailed verification plan. It's kind of an urgent thing. But I did have a verification plan, and my verification was not working. My verification was traceroute. But I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, or assuming that because the traceroute didn't work, that my routing was not working. And I decided at some point, this can't be right. There's got to be something going on with traceroute in the path. And I don't think it has anything to do with what I've done at all. And I think my routing is actually working. You have to challenge things, right? So I utilized some other tools, some logs, etc., and I figured out I had some people on standby from one of the other teams who was also scheduled to help me with validation because it involved some remote sites and access they had that I didn't have, etc. So they were doing their validation. Everything looked right. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to assume traceroute's not working and move on. And troubleshoot the traceroute later, I think my change was scheduled between 8 p.m. Eastern and midnight. But in reality, that was my approved change window. I only thought it was going to take like an hour. Everything was scripted out, ready to go. And I was there till past midnight. I was writing up a report, so I met my change window in time. But yeah, you got to be, traceroute's a great tool, and you all know how it is. Pings and traceroutes are not the most reliable real world tool because there are limitations, and sometimes they're blocked, or sometimes they're disabled from certain devices. Anyway, moral of the story is, if your verification is not working, make sure your verification plan is rock solid. But good lessons learned. I was actually able to use some new CCIE stuff that I had not used yet in production myself. And so it was great. It was actually, even though I had to set aside a good bit of time and energy, and I had to get up early because Show IP Interface Brief and I had planned to do a collaborative lab at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, which we did. And that took several hours. I was a little tired. And I wasn't planning on wearing these shades for our recording, but I did anyway because I was looking kind of rough. But we've been moving on. We got a week, so we got a jam. We're preparing for battle. But yeah, so this morning, an update is I did kind of mention that Show IP Interface Brief and I are working on some collaborative projects. That collaboration is continuing. It is expanding, and we don't know yet where it's going to go. But just be assured that there will be some content released soon. We did do, he put together an amazing lab. To me, it was workbook quality for the CCIE. I mean, it's in depth and it's well designed, and it contained, several breaks or sneaky things. Took me a little while to get it done. He built the lab and I performed the lab after he gave a presentation. So anyway, I'm not going to give away all the stuff. It's coming. He's going to be uploading it on his channel later, and I'll definitely announce that when that's ready. And who knows, we may come up with some other methods of, this was recorded, but he did an all-day, Show did an all-day, I say all day, stream yesterday, like 8 to 5, and it was wonderful. I was there for quite a bit of it because I felt like it was a good company. I was doing my own thing, but I kind of had him playing in the background, and sometimes I would overhear something, and I just had to chime in, Mentors. Hey, no problem. Actually, I did not stream earlier, Mentors, today because, normally I do stream at noon. I try to keep a regular schedule because that's the key to success for streaming and engaging with your audience and your community is everyone pretty much knowing when you're online, right? All the big streamers, that's what they do. They announce their schedule. I try to do that. Normally Sundays is noon, but it is the weekend, and something that came up was Show and I did that collaborative lab this morning and recording. By the time that was done, I was hungry. I had not eaten breakfast. It was about noon. I went in the living room and said, hey, let's go grab something to eat. Hey, Big Abe. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was impressed by the lab he put together, and I was astounded by the effect of two people kind of working on a lab together. It was, it's something that, little spider. It's something that we've been talking about for a while. Yeah, thank you, Mentors, and glad to see you guys on. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, by the way, and having good success. Big Abe, I've seen you've been doing a lot. I've seen some postings there. That looks exciting. A lot of stuff you're working on. A lot that's over my head. And I understand, I think Big Abe is doing some things that have to involve work. Sometimes we lab in our free time, not just for certifications. It does happen from time to time, folks. I've actually done that before as well. There was sometimes it can be done on your own personal lab, and some people have labs. They might have even G Pro, or they might have GNS3 running in a lab at work, or they might have actual gear. I've had that situation before myself. And you run labs there while you're working, normal work hours, for different concepts, right? But I have come home before and labbed something related to work. I've taken part of the topology at, from the enterprise network, brought it in because I had a concept I wanted to sell to the team. And I wanted to lab it first before I proposed this change to the team, right? And sometimes you do it to learn. Like, let's say you had some consultants come in and configure this, and now you're on the tail end. They've done a handoff, but you want to lab for yourself and turn the knobs or try to break it and see if what they designed will actually do what you intend. If the convergence works right, things like that. There's a lot of reasons you might lab at home, and it's not just for certifications. And El Hare says, always enjoy seeing others' thought processes. That's interesting. This morning, and you'll see that in the future post, show's future post, but that's really a lot of what he got out of it is here he designed a lab, and he kind of handed over his baby to me, and he's watching me in my thought process. And, that's where you pick up things from other people, right? He said there was a couple things he picked up on. There was some things I picked up watching him explain it. So the magic of technology these days and collaboration possibilities is amazing. He was in beast mode for, he did an epic stream yesterday, and he was getting it done. He was really getting it done. Those foundation labs, guys, I will be doing those at some point. I may end up doing those after a pass, or I may wait. It depends. We've had some discussion on that. We want to align. We're not completely aligned in the INE workbook, but I'm trying to get this written past for a lot of reasons. But one is so that we can sort of get close to the same track and work on similar topology or technologies together. But yeah, that's a big lab, and INE, the workbook, it's a great workbook, guys. Many of you have it. But, it has the foundation labs, and then it has the large-scale labs. And those are some equivalent, a lot of people I know that have taken the CCIE, passed it, they have gone through and have lauded those particular labs because they are very helpful. And you're following right behind us. Yeah, man. Come on, Big A. Let's get it done, man. We got this. I'm feeling pretty good. I've had the discipline so far. I think once I made my mind up, either Wednesday or Thursday, I've been pretty much on a mission. I've been just disciplined, hardcore. Like I told my wife this morning or yesterday, I'm like, I'm really sorry. But I'm just going to warn you that for next week, it's going to be really boring around here. Like, I am just going to be in study mode. I've got, 8, 9, 10 days, and I am just preparing for battle. Like, I'm ready to fight, So, yeah, man. Yeah, let's join you guys. And that's what we were saying, mentors. We want to do some things with a view of not just, the two of us, but we want to sort of set up some sort of platform or process to where we can invite others in and collaborate on these labs. So that's the idea, And Show has been, his YouTube channel is taking off. It's doing great. But he's also wanted, he's been using the same Discord server that you guys are in. So that's where we plan to announce, and continue to involve the community in this stuff and work with us and help each other out. We got this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's coming out. As far as today, what I've been doing, my written plan has been, today I've been slowly going through the boson questions again, but one, just to jog my memory again on all the things that I had really committed to memory up until, over a month ago. Some of that has dropped off, but I'm refreshing that, and I would stop and pause on areas where I wasn't as crisp or sharp as I felt I needed to be. So I've done a lot of reading today, actually, on various subjects that I felt I needed to get down a little better. And some of those are in the title, and I plan to review some of those. What ended up happening is I ended up adjusting the drill sheet quite a bit. Good things for you. So definitely join us in Land Tamper Discord. Yeah, let's go ahead and give the link here. And Show has already started developing. I don't know if I believe he's released it, folks. If you're following his YouTube channel and his streams, he has a Dropbox. And I'm going to see if I can get him to, I'm going to get that shareable link. I want to include that here so I can just pop it with Nightbot. But yeah, you can do a lot of labs yourself. You can download them And the ones today are day 10. Day 10 is where he has some info in there. And he has some like PowerPoint presentation and all kind of other stuff in there. So, and he's been sharing that, which is great. But yeah, the drill sheet, this drill sheet, folks, let me pull this up. I'm just going to kind of go off of this because this is where I've been documenting some of the things that I need to retain. And we'll just kind of go off of here. Hey, Divisible, good to have you, man. Glad you're here with us this evening. We got a number of folks here hanging out. I want to be like when I grow up, man. I don't feel like I've grown up yet, man. I'm in my 40s, so yeah, I want to be like Dimitri when I grow up. We all have aspirations, right? We're all chasing something, which is good. Always be chasing, right? Always be hustling. I went over, yeah, big kids. We just have big responsibilities. Very true, man. I feel like a kid a lot of times. Yeah, Dimitri's on another planet, man. He was. I watched. I don't know if y'all saw me yesterday. I posted on. I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram. I used to post the same thing on both, but now I've got so much stuff that I'm just trying to post like photo-centric stuff or snapshots or screenshots and things on Instagram and more sort of announcements and things on Twitter. But one of those announced yesterday that, wow, I can actually stream or watch 2 streams at once. And how often does that happen? Here's a little trick, by the way, guys. If you are, let's say Dimitri and I are streaming at the same time. If you're a gamer, you know about this already, but there's multitwitch.tv, and you could just put both streamers in there, and you can actually watch both. We're offline. You can chat with both, too. And it'll put one on the top, one on the bottom. Of course, show's using YouTube right now, but I just aligned my windows, and it worked great. Man, I can't really get in the program, man. It's just my style. Yeah, not for everybody. Not for everybody. It's going to be a big deal, though, I think, for a lot of people. I'm sort of forcing my way into it now a little bit just because I see a window of opportunity to spend a little work time to learn it, just because there are uses for it at work. Yeah, does seem to be the hot thing, for sure. By the way, there's another streamer I just discovered. I say I just discovered. He's still online. And what is Sis Void? Yeah, so you could actually watch. I was watching him before this stream, and I found about him on another Discord server. So you could actually do multi-Twitch. Can't spell. And Sis Void. And you could watch both of us. But what he's working on right now is, it looks like he's doing an ISIS lab, which is pretty cool because he is in the community CCNA. By the way, a number of us had gotten together earlier. Many of you know on Twitch that you can go to... They have these community feature, which it's not very big for a lot of people, but if I go browse, you can go by games or by communities, and you can create a community. At one point, several of us got together, and we did... All right, here's the communities link. Yeah, let me post that link for you guys. And the other one would be... That's the multi-Twitch. But he is in the community. There's a community called CCIE. Let's see. Can you search for those? There's channels and there's communities. Yeah, CCIE study. There's one called networking study. And then he is in CCNA. Right now, that's what he's got labeled on his stream. I wonder if he's CCNA service provider, because I don't remember doing anything with ISIS in CCNA at all. Like even in CCIE, routing and switching, you have to study it, but you study it for the written. You don't study it for the lab. So he must be service provider, but it was a really interesting lab he was working on. I was almost late for this stream because his issue was he was trying to configure a connected route with the higher administrative distance than an ISIS route. In other words, he was trying to force ISIS to be preferred over connected route. I don't know how to do that for another protocol, but I'll be curious to see what they come up with. You should be. He's got videos enabled, so you should be able to go back and watch videos too from the beginning. Fascinating stuff, though. Another streamer, guys. Another networking Twitch streamer. I hope this thing just keeps blowing up. More and more and more Twitch streamers. It's great. So anyway, getting back to written topics here, I'm just going to briefly cover this and try to explain them a little bit. So one is just real simple. Create an iOS embedded packet capture. And the important thing here is just a couple of notes. The reason I want to add this is, first you create a capture buffer, then you create a capture point. And one thing that may get you on, this is in boson too, is for multicast. Yes, you can use EPC on iOS to capture multicast, but only inbound and only process switched. So it can't be captured through CEF. Then you do your third step. You can associate a capture point with a buffer. And then finally, you enable your capture point. And that multiple can be enabled per interface. So that's just some notes I put here on the drill sheet. This is the drill sheet, by the way, which is really good just to practice. It's like flashcards, but it requires you to write out more. The other thing I put in here today was I reworked this whole section. This took me a while to do before, but it was in a different order. And what this is the different components of multi-protocol BGP, VPN, v4 routing. There's a lot of identifiers involved. A lot of identifiers, right? It can be very confusing, especially route target and route distinguisher. We had some discussion about that in Discord the other day. So I had pretty much had that in mind, but I wanted to rework this, review it a little more, and make it a little easier to read. So we'll just go down these one by one, right? One is the VPN ID. Also, I wanted to modify here. A couple things I did is for all of these, I put the total number of bytes and bits for each of these identifiers. And I added a usage or purpose field to each of these. So VPN ID. What I did not know, I knew this is locally significant only. And I knew the format. Multi-Twitch not working for me for some reason. Let me try it real quick. Multitwitch.tv. I may have given you... Oh, it's HTTP. Sorry. So try it with... Also, this browser is Brave. Brave can be weird. I think Brave may be trying to redirect it. We tried in Safari or Chrome. Even better. Okay, yeah, make sure you're using Chrome and HTTP, and that should work. So yeah, you've got your VPN ID, which is used for, of course, it's basically a locally significant identifier. And a lot of times it's sort of auto-generated. You create the VPN or the VRF name, and the system will automatically generate a VPN ID, right? But you can change it. And it's used locally pretty much by a PE router that has all the VRFs, that's maintaining the different VRF tables. It will use the VPN ID. There are also some functions, I guess, DHCP and radius, like dial-up users into a provider router. There are cases where the VPN identifier can be used to identify a user or assign an IP address. I don't know if that's done anymore, but at least I know what it is. And the format is 3-byte OUI plus a 4-byte VPN index. And you can show it by, I think, show VRF and then the name, and it will show you the VPN ID. Other than that, you don't. You might get questioned about it on a written exam about this format, but other than that, not too much to worry about for the IE written or exam. MPLS label. MPLS label, right? It's 4 bytes, and you have a 20-bit, which is the label, the MPLS label itself. TC field, which is 3 bits. That's traffic class. And on Cisco, also the experimental bits and our type of service on Cisco devices. Then you have the stack bit, which is 1 bit. And if it's set to 1, this is important to know. The stack bit, what is it used for? And what does 0 mean and what does 1 mean? Okay. 0 means this is not the bottom of the stack. 1 means it is. This is the last label in the stack. And generally that, means you're popping the label, right? Then the last part is the TTL, time to live. Yes, there is time to live on MPLS label switching. And in a minute, we'll go over some special MPLS labels. This is very important to know. Trust me on this. We'll talk about reserved, implicit null, explicit null, router alert. We'll review that in a second. But continue on here. You have the route distinguisher. And the purpose is on this is to enable customers or service providers to use overlapping IP space on their internal networks. So you have these internal networks, and you have VRFs spread throughout your environment. And you can use whatever overlapping IP space you want, because that distinguisher is going to allow you, it adds a layer of abstraction, right? So the route distinguisher itself, oh, by the way, it does not identify the origin of a route. That's a common misconception. It's sometimes confused with like route targets or the VPN-v4 address. It's not used for that. It does not identify a VPN for distribution, route distribution. So because the route distinguisher is this, that does not equate to where routing is going to go. The only purpose of the route distinguisher is to distinguish routes locally on a PE router, for example, and to know which customer that belongs to or which VRF that belongs to. That's all it's used for, right? It does form a part of other identifiers, but itself is not used for identifying where things are distributed through the network. So it has an interesting format here. There's a type, 2-byte, and it's either 0, 1, or 2. So type and a value. The value is 6-byte, the value field, and it has 2 subfields, administrator and assigned number. And this can be a little tricky, but the main thing to know is for these, you do assign a number to a route distinguisher. But it comes in the second, the assigned number subfield. So in the first field, it's either going to be an ASN 65536 colon, and then the arbitrary number that is assigned by an administrator, right? It could be 100, but that's the format. The administrator assigned number is the second subfield. The first subfield is either an ASN or an IP address. And that's, if you notice from the bytes, that's going to affect how many bytes and bits are in your admin subfield. But it really doesn't matter, because from a human perspective, because you're generally going to you're not going to use huge numbers there, and it's going to fit within a 2-byte field. And it's just whatever administratively you've chosen to configure, whether it's ASNs or IP addresses. They both work as long as they're configured consistently. And then you have multicast if you're using this too. I haven't got into this much. It's also an ASN 4-byte and then administrator number 2-byte. So that's a route distinguisher. Then we get into a multi-protocol BGP VPN v4 address. This is 12 bytes or 96 bits. And really it's just two components that we all know and love. We have now the route distinguisher and the IPv4 address. And this is how we, will be addressing this is how routers will communicate with each other using these addresses for VPN v4 routing, VPN v4 address family routing. It takes a route distinguisher and it's trying to talk to another router on the other side of the network. It's going to go into the destination is going to be, looking for that destination VPN v4 address, which is a route distinguisher and a 4-byte IPv4 address or 32-bit IPv4 address. So the Bizzle asks, so how are you feeling? Are you ready for the next go? I think so. What I decided, thank you for asking, Bizzle. I think in my mind, I'm just going to kick butt as hard as I can for the next week. And I'm going to go for it. But if I fail again, I'm not going to be disappointed. Well, I will be disappointed, but I won't stop. I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to I already know the date of my next attempt. So if I fail on July 23rd, my next attempt will be August, I believe, 28th, 29th, or 30th. It's going to be the last few days in August. So I'm just going to keep rolling. I'm going to keep on rolling and try to keep a good attitude, Yeah, I've got a no give up, attitude right now. I really do. And I'm going to try to just sustain it. I just want to kick butt and take names. That's how I feel, I hope so, man. I do hope so. I'm ready for a break. But right now, I'm on like a one-track mind. I'm like RoboCop hunting down the criminal, man. That's how I feel. But yeah, so we got this VPN v4 address. Now, what gets confusing here? Yeah, I was pretty close. That's the confidence I have, Bizzle. Thanks for reminding me of that. I try to remind myself of that. That, I made a lot bigger deal of it. Part of it was mentally and emotionally because I guess I had higher expectations. But to be honest, I wasn't really off by that far. And that kind of brings me a little comfort because I thought I was going to totally bomb based on what I saw. So being a lot more, I should be a lot more prepared this time. I should have a lot more fortitude. Should not be thrown off and phased by anything, and I should be a lot better prepared for what to expect, so know your enemy, right? But yeah, route target is what a lot of people get confused with route distinguisher, and I did for the longest time, and I probably still will. But route target is what is used to, it's like a distribute list, really. Mentor, it's all about your attitude and your hard work and studies will pay off. That's right, man. You don't have to be a genius. That would be nice. I am not, but it is hard work. That's a big principle in this country here in the United States. Hard work can still get you somewhere, and I think that's true of this too. The CCIE, hard work pays off. Totally agree. But yeah, the route target identifies, I like this wording. I found this, I did some reading on this. A route target identifies a set of sites, right? So basically, when multi-protocol BGP address family VPN v4 is doing routing, where a route will be sent or an update message will be sent is based on, in large part, what is the route target. and what, the routing updates a router receives and whether it hands it off to a customer is also based on the route target. It's rather where the routes are going to go. Target's a great word. And it is also 8 bytes or 64 bits. It signals membership in an MPLS VPN, RC4364. And so for example, a lot of these things end up being embedded into other things. So you've got the MPLS label, which is some encapsulation. You've got further encapsulation into BGP with an address that includes the route distinguisher and an IPv4 address. The route target is not part of an address scheme. And it's actually an extended community attribute. So the route target is embedded in I downloaded earlier a PCAP. Yeah, here we go. This is from a lab I did a while back. So if you look at an update message from a BGP, VPN-v4 BGP neighbor update, here's an update message. So you'll notice in here, path attribute extended, I believe this is it, VPN-v4, yeah. Carried extended communities. So here's a route target, 100:1. I actually had to go to packet capture to fill the rest of this out today because I was having trouble finding it. And let me pull up that window again. Where is it? I was trying, because here it said you could do ASN : number or IP address : number. Looks very similar to route distinguisher, doesn't it? Very similar. But there is a type field here and a subtype, which we don't really use. And I found those here in the actual packet capture. But here's the 2-octet AS and the 4-octet AN, assigned number. And as you can see, this is extended community. So this is not in the IP address, the destination address or anything like that. Destination, BGP update message, yeah. Which are on routes. All right. So that's the difference. This is, route target is a BGP update message attribute field, and it's really what's used to determine where routes go, where routing updates go. So maybe you'll find this useful at some point. If you're trying to, work through that, feel free to use this link and review that. That may help. All right. We talked about MPLS special labels. I'm going to go over these real quick. This tripped me up for a little while. It was hard to find something that really explained it, that nailed it. But MPLS special labels, and, be on the lookout for this for an exam. Just letting you know. So, for example, reserved codes, you have 0 through 15, and only a few of these have been assigned by the IANA. One is, I'll review router alert first. That's the easiest one. Basically, all that's saying is when that MPLS label is set to 1, whenever that's the top label, it means that the router needs to take a closer look at that packet, not just forward it through hardware. Maybe there's some other process running on the router that's doing captures or some other sort of inspection. Who knows? I've never seen it really used myself, but I'm sure it is. That's what that router alert 1 is. Yeah, MPLS has a way of tripping me up on exams. Me too, my friend. Me too. So you've got this function of peeling off a label, popping a label when it gets to the end of your label switch path, right? And there's two generally understood ways to do this. One is what is called an implicit null, and that value is 3. So you can't assign this label to anything. You can't use 3. It's reserved. You might try. I don't know what will happen. But 3 is a special label. And when it's at the top of this, or the bottom of the stack, I should say, depending on how you look at it, when it's the last label inbound to a router, first of all, that means that a router has signaled to, it has advertised that label to its LSR, its neighbor label switch router, that, hey, for this prefix, all right, this is like it's a directly connected route, or it's going to a VRF customer, and you can pop it. And that's what's called the PH, or penultimate hop popping. And the reason that's good is because that packet coming into the router, it doesn't need a label for it, because it's not going to send it to another, it's not going to forward it to another label switched router. So if it comes in with a label like 28, but yet it's going to another customer, not as a label switch packet, but maybe it's a VPN v4 packet. If it's got a label on it, then the router has to do a lookup to find what is 28, only to find out, for example, that 28, oh, that's my next hop is my VRF, is my customer router. So then it knows, okay, I don't need to put another label on it, so I can ignore 28. I can take it, I can strip it out. Now I have to look up the IPv4 address that it's going to. That's 2 lookups. So it's a waste of time. And, you multiply that by infinity. And really, efficiency is really important. So the 3 is, I'm going to tell my router upstream, my label switch router, hey, this prefix comes in, that is label 3. In other words, you send it to me, you pop that label, so I don't have to label process it at all. That's the purpose of the penultimate hop popping mechanism and the implicit null, right? And it's 3 because it's implied that this is the, you can pop it. So that prevents 2 egress lookups, which is great. So he sends a 3 to the upstream router, so that when that, something destined to that prefix comes in, it has no label on it. I don't have to process a label. Then all I have to do is process a destination IPv4 address and forward it. It's 1 lookup. There's a problem with that, though. And that is, if you are doing traffic engineering in your MPLS network, what happens is, if the upstream router pops the label and sends it to you without an MPLS label, now you're going to lose any of that information you might have had in regards to QoS for that traffic. Maybe that's for reporting purposes, or maybe you wanted to make some sort of decision on that anyway. If you've got no MPLS label, you can't do that layer of review of the experiment. They're called the EXP. We looked at that earlier, right? That is the experimental bits in the MPLS label, which is the TC. So there's a workaround for that too. Let's see, where do we go? Yeah, that is called explicit null. And it is the label number 0, or value 0. So 0 says the router sees it, and it's not, when it sees 0 incoming, it's not going to do a lookup in the MPLS forwarding table. It sees 0, it knows what to do. It knows, okay, this is, I am the last hop. Pop it and do my IPv4 lookup. Hey, show. It hasn't been too long today, bud. Yeah, good to see you again. I just started a little while ago, actually. I think 6:30. Normally I do at noon, but today I was deep into study. I'm just doing a little review right now of a couple of topics that I dug into a little bit today. One of these is these MPLS reserve labels. Something that I definitely need to make sure I'm ready for. Cheat day. Yeah, my cheat day was Friday night, actually. I've been hitting it hard today. I don't know what number of cup of coffee I'm on, to be honest. But we're going, man. We're just running with it. Working from home tomorrow, I may just nap all day. I was just kidding. That won't happen. Yeah, actually, it's funny. When you work from home, some of you have probably done it here and there. You actually end up working harder oftentimes than working in an office. In some respects, just because you don't get that water cooler time. And even if you like it or not, you're going to have water cooler time in an office. But I know I digress a little bit. Getting back to explicit null. So explicit null is 0. Again, when I get 0 in, that means that this is the end of line MPLS. I just pop it and I do one lookup and forward it out, and we're good. Yeah, Debizzle, I agree. I end up, sometimes you skip lunch. It's crazy. You wouldn't think. But sometimes you can take it easy if you've had a long night or long day or something. That is nice. You have a little more leverage to sort of take things easy. But more often than not, you end up, it's funny. I do a lot of WebEx. And we have quite a few. Our corporate culture has a lot of allowances for remote office workers, and we have a lot of remote workers who I've got to know pretty well, And in one group in particular, we have quite a large group. It's a daily stand-up, like a Scrum daily meeting. And the remote people are always on time. The first one's in, like right at, let's say if it's 11 a.m., 11 a.m. folks are always there at 11 a.m., dialed in, ready to go. It's the people that work on site that are, and they're walking in and they're still talking, it's funny. Yeah, I do prefer to work at home. I'm so spoiled right now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, explicit null. So it's important to know there's differences. I'm going to try for the next written. I put this on the drill sheet because I'm going to drill this information and try to memorize it so that I'm prepared for it. One other topic I'll cover that I was a little weak on. I was quite a bit weak on, to be honest. And it didn't really take much to feel like I got a lot more up to speed, and that was through getvpn. It was just hard to find succinct information explaining what I wanted to know. But I found a really good article. It was a marketing of all play. It's funny where you scrounge this stuff up, right? You never know where you're going to find what you need. In the last few days, I found several snippets of material that just bing. And it was, in one case, it was a SlideShare, which is the most annoying site. Lots of ads. But I stuck with it, and I found a great couple of slides of SlideShare. And today on getvpn, I'll try to find it and post it, but I found a great Cisco marketing PDF. But it went into some technical detail. And from that, between that and the official cert guide, volume 2, I think I've now understand really getvpn and the differences with DMVPN. So a couple things I wanted to be sure I understood. getvpn is group encrypted transport VPN, right? And the differences, a lot of it is just to contrast with DMVPN. And it doesn't use tunneling, right? It's not using IPsec tunneling. That's one big difference. getvpn preserves the header, the original IP header or multicast header too. Its DMVPN is very highly scalable, but getvpn has even more scalability from what I understand. Oh, you have, okay. I'm going to look that up, show, for sure. As a matter of fact, let's find it. Can I do a search on here? I don't see a... Do you happen to remember when it was, show? Oh, you got tags over here. There we go. Just had it to the right. getvpn. Oh, sweet. Until you do this on the Service Pro. Look at Tuesday keywords in the bottom right. Yeah. Nice. I've never labbed this. Okay, challenge rip getvpn. This is back in April. Nice. Well, this is cool. If you guys want to check this out, you want to study up a little more, I may take a look at this too a little later. Good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so I found this slide, a marketing slide, that showed side by side DMVPN, IPsec VPN tunnels, getvpn, and then VTI tunnel interfaces. Let's see if I can find it, folks. It's probably in my history. I don't know if that'll help. Yes, this might be it. Oh, that's my Google search. That's not what I wanted to give you. It's fine, but... See, it copied this. I don't know what that was doing. Let's try this. Jeez. It's still doing like a Google. That's weird. Yeah, OPSEC matters. All right, so apparently if you click on that, it'll either take you to the Google search page with that at the top, or it will just go ahead and download this PDF. But this is a really good PDF, folks. And this really helped me out, especially this chart right here. So getvpn, DMVPN, IPsec, point-to-point GRE, EasyVPN with VTI. Yeah. So one of the big things you'll see here, and one thing that they tout, even on this slide, is native multicast and unicast traffic. No overlay, any-to-any instant enterprise connectivity. Granted, a lot of customers don't necessarily might not need multicast over a network like this. Advanced QoS also is something that they talked about. But it's a great idea. I mean, a great technology, because essentially the group servers will check in with the key server, and there'll be an exchange of keys to use. And then the traffic is sent, source and destination stays the same, but it's just using regular encryption, using those keys. And if it's going to another, for example, groups or member server, then that server knows the keys, knows how to decrypt it, sends it on its way. Thanks for, say refresh time. No problem, man. No problem. So, good stuff. In concept, that's like, wow, that's really simple. You're just managing sort of a key vault system, rotating the keys, and traffic travels across your transport network between these servers that all know these keys, and they know how to encrypt and decrypt traffic. And the group servers will also send out the policies as well. Well, the show says one of the things to remember is what happens when router can't build an SA with another router. What happens to the traffic? Dropped or forwarded? So I think, good question. I want to say forwarded. Yeah, forwarded unencrypted. Because there is a fail close option, right? I read about that too. The fail close, you can enable that to say any traffic coming in from one of these servers that is unencrypted that I'm going to drop. I think by default, fail close is off. So I think you're right, Joe. It's just, unless you turn fail close on, you're right, the traffic is just going to flow unencrypted, right? Also, even one of the limitations of getvpn I was reading about is before the keys are exchanged and the negotiation takes place, any traffic that traverses the transport network during startup, so to speak, will also be unencrypted. I don't know what that delay is. I'm sure it depends on your network, your size, your transport network. But I did understand that to be, and that was one of the things I mentioned too. Fail close is a way to ensure, well, that's fine. Encryption is more important, so just drop the traffic until the SA is negotiated. And but you bring up an excellent point. As a matter of fact, I think did I put that on my sheet? I did not. Probably need to include that point. Geez, I thought I had put that on there. Good point, show. Good stuff. So yeah, another feature is it's group-based instead of peer-based. And you do get more advanced QoS support with... It's not that you don't get QoS with the MVPN, for example. You just have broader application of it, especially since you're using the native headers, right? Great stuff. So that's what I went over today, folks. Part of it anyway. There are other things I'm not going to mention, and just because I got to get back to it, actually. I got to get going. I did find another streamer. I mentioned this earlier. Check him out, SysVoid. I believe I could be way off base, but it looked like he was doing CCNA service provider type stuff. But again, he was labbing earlier ISIS, and I was kind of jealous. I thought it was really cool because I'm like, man, I want to be labbing that right now. But check him out. Give him some support. Give him a follow over there on Twitter. Or, well, he might be on Twitter, but on Twitch at least. And thanks for tuning in, folks. It's been a great day. We got more good things coming. And thanks for all the encouragement here in the chat. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you, show. And thanks for your input, everybody. And looking forward to doing this some more. I'll see you tomorrow. We're back to regular schedule tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. And I'll be giving you updates. And tomorrow it'll be 7 days. Thanks so much for stopping in. Give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter, Instagram, all the things, YouTube, and to get notified when new streams coming out. Hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday. It's winding down. Get some good rest. Enjoy the time you got. And we shall see you folks tomorrow where we'll do it again here on the Land Tamer stream. Have a good night, guys and gals.